working against the wind. They're clear out on the lake. Jesus dismissed them ahead of time. He didn't see that as an obstacle then. He didn't see it as an obstacle now. Ever walk in a stiff wind, by the way? A really good stiff Oklahoma wind. You get tired of that, don't you? He's doing it on water. What did he do? Knowing what he was going to be facing, he went off and he spent some serious time in prayer. We can never walk on the water if we don't get out of the boat. And if we're not prayed up, we won't be getting out of the boat or off the shore for that matter. Secondly, let's look at the fact that a lot of times we're afraid of the water. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Verses 25 through 27, the disciples are in the boat. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. Middle of the night. They've been out there for a long time. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it's I, don't be afraid." What are they afraid of? They said it's a ghost. Why did they say it's a ghost? Well, because people don't walk on water. This can't be a person. This can't be Jesus. This is somebody walking on the water. Only a spirit could walk on water. Only a ghost could walk on water. I would never try to walk on water. I can't do it. So obviously this has to be a ghost. So what are they afraid of? The ghost? They think it's a ghost because it's walking on water. He is walking on water. The fear increases. And you know, fear is almost always worse than reality. Have you found that out in your life? The things that we're the most scared of, when they finally come about, you get through them a lot quicker than you thought you would, and they aren't nearly as overpowering as you thought they would be. They were afraid of the water. We see that in the very next passage. Only Peter will respond. They're afraid of the water. They're afraid of the ghost. But the only reason they think it's a ghost is because people don't walk on water. People can't do that. Ergo, must be a ghost. Ergo, I can't do that either. And we can never walk on the water if we refuse to ever step out of the boat. Our faith in God will never prove effective if we don't follow his lead. Why don't we step out of the boat? Well, sometimes we're just comfortable in the boat. Verse 32, I love this. We're comfortable in the boat. Is that on there?
You skipped one.
It's just playing games with us, isn't it? It's okay. That says we don't trust Jesus. Well, let's do that first. We don't trust Jesus. That's on my sheet that way too. I skipped it. Why don't we trust Jesus? 28 through 31. We don't trust Jesus. I had her confused back there, and it's my fault. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied. Tell me to come to you on the water. Come, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? Interesting thing in this last verse of this passage, by the way, when Rebecca read it for us this morning. Were you reading out of the King James?
Yes.
Paul was just having a discussion with me out in the foyer today about the translations. We're talking about the translations, and I was talking about some of the things that are in the King James that aren't in some of the later translations, and some of the later translations ignoring the King James because they went back to the original, or the closest to the original manuscripts they could get. And there's always this big debate about if it's King James or not, or if it's too modern, or does it portray the original meaning. And they found, when they found the oldest manuscripts, there's a passage in Mark that originally the NIV took completely out of the Bible and put it in the footnotes, because it wasn't in the oldest scrolls that they could find. But they found it in later works, and they found it in the King James. So they put it out of the text and put it at the bottom in a footnote and said, this is, found in some texts. Well, that really made people angry that love the King James Bible. So I think in later translations of the NIV, they've put it back into the text with a notation there that asterisks and says, this is not found in the older scrolls. All that being said, in the King James, it says here, that Jesus said to Peter, "You of little faith, why did you not believe?" But in many translations that are taken from older scrolls, it didn't say that he said it to Peter. Some of our translators along the line looked at the context and assumed that since he's pulling Peter out of the water, he's talking to Peter. We don't know that for a fact. We know that he said this. We don't know if the original author said that he said it to Peter. Well, who else would he be talking to? Well, how about the 11 that didn't get out of the boat? Peter had the faith to step out of the boat, and we go, oh, he took his eyes off Jesus, and that's why he sank, and we preach sermons about that. But who was the ones of the least amount of faith? Not Peter. Peter faltered in the midst of his faith, but he had the faith to step out of the boat. When Jesus reaches down to pull Peter out, we don't know that he wasn't looking up, pulling him out. And by the way, they went back to the boat. That indicates they walked back to the boat. You do get that. Because in the next verses, it's going to say when they got back in the boat. However far Peter walked out there, he started to sink, but he walked back with Jesus, holding Jesus' hand. We assume Jesus took his hand, pulled him up. When we're walking in faith, we got to hold on to Jesus' hand. He got his eyes off of Jesus and he sank. But hello, he had the faith to step out of the boat, and he walked for a ways in the faith as far as it would carry him without him actually having a hold of Jesus. But to finish the job, he had to have a hold of Jesus. He trusted Jesus to walk to him. And he got just as far as he could get till Jesus could reach him. You ever notice when kids are learning to walk, how often it is they'll take those first steps, and when they walk, they'll have their arms outreached toward you, and they don't quite get to you. That last step is kind of a falling into your arms a lot of times. And as many steps as they've taken, sometimes one more step would have got them there standing up. But they'll reach so hard for you that their balance is thrown off and they don't get their foot underneath them for that next step. And I wonder if that's how it is with us sometimes with God. He's just waiting for us to fall into his arms. But we're really concentrated on keeping our feet under ourselves and supporting ourselves. These disciples knew that in their own strength they couldn't walk on water. They're not stepping out of the boat. Peter says, hey, if it's you, Lord, if you're not a ghost, I'm up for this thing. I'm coming out there. I can do anything that you say I can do. Tell me to come to you and I'll come. And he did. And he did. And even seeing that, none of the rest of them had enough faith to step out of that boat. We never can walk on water if we refuse to get out of the boat. Sometimes we don't trust Jesus. What did Peter say? If it's you, Lord, tell me to come to you. And he says, it's me, don't be afraid. And he trusted him. Sometimes we don't trust him. Sometimes we don't trust him to keep us or protect us. Sometimes we don't trust Jesus to empower us to what he's called us to. Sometimes we don't trust him to provide.